I want to start this out with a question for you. And this question is kind of personal, so I'm glad we can do this in this way because this way you can answer this question privately and no one else needs to know your answer. So here's my question for you. Have you ever been taken advantage of financially? I have. And it can be embarrassing to admit. But recently, a viewer contacted me about a situation that she had. And so I want to share with you what she told me, as well as share with you what I've been through, so that all of us can learn from these situations. And something I want to share with you is when someone contacts me, normally our communication is private. It's only when someone says that they want me to share what they've told me that I do that. Here's what Anna shared with me. Anna needed to have her house painted. And she's a businesswoman who's often on the road traveling. So as she was on the road, she looked up painters in her area, found ones that had good reviews, and started calling them. Found the one that seemed to be the right fit for her. And she told them, I want you to paint my house sage green. That was the color she had in mind. And the painter told her, well, you can't have that particular color because your HOA doesn't allow it. But I have a color that's really similar and it's approved and you'll be happy with it. And he told her the name of the color, and she told me it, but to be honest with you, I don't remember the name of this color. It was one of those things you see on a paint chip, has these obscure names. I don't know what it was. So she signs the contract, and they make a date for when the painting will be done. She comes back from one of her business trips, and she is horrified, hates the color. And she's telling me that it was absolutely hideous. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I mean, how hideous could it be? I personally love green. You'll notice if you've watched a few of my episodes that I wear green a lot. So I'm thinking, I mean, how bad could this other shade of green be? So she sends me a picture and it was not green. I don't know what you'd even call this color. It was hideous. It was sort of this dark gray with a purple, looked terrible, clashed with the trim on her windows, clashed with the surrounding trees around her house. And she was really upset. She was upset with the painter because she felt like she'd been deceived. And she was also upset that she hadn't gotten more clarification. She thought she knew what she was getting. And she said to me, Bella, I think this is something that you should talk about. I'm bringing this to you because I think this is something a lot of people deal with. And I bet you have some ideas on how we can deal with these negotiations and contracts and make sure we don't get taken advantage of. Because obviously that would never happen to you. Oh, I wish I could say that was the case, but it's not. I had something happen to me where I got taken advantage of financially. Very different situation. It was a work situation. What had happened is that I got a promotion. And when I got the promotion, I tried to negotiate the salary that I wanted. But the company held a very firm line and said, this is all that we're going to be willing to give you for this promotion. But my new boss said, if you do these different projects within the next 6 months, at the 6-month point, we will give you what you're asking for. And I remember exactly how much money it was. It was $4,500. And so we agreed on this. And he said, what we'll do is over the next month, let's get in writing the exact projects that you will have to complete, and we'll agree to that. So over the next month, we met at various times, hammering out the details. And we wrote out all the details of every project that I would agree to do over the next 6 months. But I never put in writing the $4,500. And this is kind of a strange thing that I didn't, because I usually do get things in writing. But I was trusting and I thought we were having discussions about it, so I didn't have any reason to believe otherwise. Well, you can probably see where this is going. At the end of the 6 months, we sit down, we go over all the projects I've done. He says, you've done a great job, and then tells me I'm not getting my raise. And has every excuse in the book. It wasn't approved by upper management. Management's gone through some changes, and now I have to wait another 6 months. And I was really angry. I was angry at him because I could see he was being deceitful. And I was angry at myself for not putting that $4,500 in writing. And so what I want to talk about right now is why we don't do these things that we know we should do. Because the answer to this is pretty simple, but it's the why that's important. So first I'm going to talk about the 2 things we can do to try to prevent being taken advantage of financially. And then I'm going to talk about the 3 things that are the reasons why we don't do those 2 things. Okay, so this is pretty simple, and I think most of us would know this off the top of our head. One is to clarify, and the second is to get a contract. And these are very simple things. You think about the situation with Anna. If she had clarified that paint color, it would have been a good thing. If she had said, send me a sample of this paint chip so that I can see it. And then that would have been put in the contract. In my case, I didn't get that $4,500 in writing, failed to make it a contract. Pretty simple things. And this person that I'm talking about, Anna, this is a high-level professional. She is smart. She is educated. She's no slouch. And so why do we, because I know you, my viewers, are smart people, you're educated, and maybe some of you have had this happen too, why do we fail to do those things? Why do we fail to clarify? Why do we fail to get a contract? And there's 3 reasons I can think of. The first is embarrassment. And that's happens a lot. It's happened to me, where we don't want to feel like we're being pushy or demanding. We're embarrassed to say, I need that in writing. Let's write this down. Let's get this signed. Let me ask the clarifying questions. Because we don't want to look like we're being obnoxious or untrusting. But you know what I ask myself after all these years when I look back at that situation? I think, what's more embarrassing? If I put myself out there and demanded that it be put in writing, or if I have to think about this thing that happened to me where I lost out on a $4,500 raise. So which is worse? Which is more embarrassing in the long run? The second reason that we often don't clarify or get a contract is we make assumptions. And I definitely did. I assumed, because the company had treated me right up until that point, that they would. I had no reason to believe otherwise. And I think this happens a lot, where we have a situation where we don't have a reason to think that the person is going to do us harm or not follow through on their word. And if we're a person of our word, we assume that other people are people of their word. But not everyone is. And so the easiest thing we can do with that assumption is not to make assumptions. Clarify, put it in writing so that we don't fall into that. And the third reason I found that we don't do what we should do is we're busy. And this happened in Anna's case. She was on the road. She's a busy professional. She didn't have a lot of time to deal with this, thought she had taken care of the details. And all of us, I've seen so many people right now that are super busy, overwhelmed. But think about this. There's the time that it takes us to clarify and get a contract versus the time that we spend when things don't work out, agonizing over that. Just the time alone in our own head, stressing out about these things is not worth not taking the time to do it up front. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this subject, because I think this is something that we can all learn from each other and encourage each other to do. And my hope is that next time you have a situation where there's something where you know you should probably clarify, you know you should probably put it in writing, that you'll remember what I shared with you about my own situation, about Anna's situation, and you will say, you know what? Doesn't matter if I'm embarrassed, and it doesn't matter if I assume that this person is trustworthy, and it doesn't matter that I'm busy. I'm going to remember this. I'm going to get clarity, and I'm going to get a contract. So tell me your thoughts about this. I'd love to hear them. And I want to say, as always, thank you for spending time with me today.